Macron made his comments at an annual ambassadors conference in Paris, saying France was reorganizing its strategic interest in the region and rejected the idea that it had been forced to withdraw from Africa. French troops were sent to Mali in 2013 in response to an Islamist insurgency. A year later, the mission was extended to take in other countries in the region, including Niger and Burkina Faso. The story is very long, but I'm sure my guests here are already abreast with the issues, and so Dr. Marzouk will start the conversation for me. I know he finds it quite interesting that France would be expecting us to thank them for the role that they have played in the so-called fight against insurgents. I'm saying so-called because it appears that even when they were there, the problems were still rife as far as insurgency is concerned. Let me take your thoughts, Dr. Marzouk.
Good morning to the cherished viewers, and good morning to the only me on this program. Am I okay?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And thank you for the opportunity. Aujourd'hui, on va parler français parce que on va parler avec France, mais il faut parler anglais parce que beaucoup de people ne comprennent pas français. Donc, on va parler anglais.
Je n'ai pas français. Je parle anglais.
Okay, no problem. All I'm saying is that, yes, we should have spoken French today because we are discussing France. And because most people who view us, referring to our viewers, do not understand French, will continue to speak English. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We cannot discuss this topic outside the context of colonialism and neocolonialism. If you observe very well, France has been the worst colonizer comparatively, because their system of colonialism was based on the policy of assimilation as opposed to the policy of indirect rule, which was adopted by the British. The British, although came as colonialists, they still had an iota of respect for us. They saw the legitimacy of our institutions, chieftaincy institutions, religious institutions, family values, and therefore they thought it wise to colonize us through these established institutions, and that was indirect rule. It was evil, yet it was glorified. At least they created evil, it's still evil, but all the same it was glorified. It was, as compared to that of the policy of assimilation, was highly humane. In isolation, evil. In comparison, humane. Now, the France came, the French people, in the name of France, came with the policy of assimilation. What that one meant was that everything that you had, your culture, your tradition, your language, your values, your religion, everything that you identify with should be relegated to the background and replaced with those of the French. And therefore, France was able to destroy the African culture of their territories. It was able to relegate the African to the background, and even created what it called the French African, or French Africa, France Afrique. And because of that, the countries that were colonized by France were made to think that they could not do anything without the domination of France. And that was why even after independence, they still had to rely on France for economic prosperity. Their money, their resources, still under the custody or in the custody of France, or under the direction of France. Everything about France. Now, so we had the political independence, and they never They never gave them any iota of economic independence, even though the British to the West, they didn't give us some iota of economic sovereignty. Yet, in our case, we are still better. But in the case of France, everything about economic planning, everything should come from Paris. So, a new wave, after colonialism, they continue with this neocolonial nonsense, excuse my word. And then a new wave of liberation from neocolonialism in France has emerged. And that is exactly what Macron cannot understand. This small boy, he cannot understand that there's the need for liberty on the continent of Africa. That those they colonized for centuries have now decided to stand up to the reality and to stand up to their colonizers. And that is what Macron cannot understand. Macron says, without France, these Sahelian countries cannot be sovereign, right? They cannot be sovereign nations. That is an affirmation of Macron's own neo-colonialist mentality. Now they have sacked you. They have sacked you, and they are still in existence. Your army, your whatever, they are no longer dealing with you, and they are still in existence. This is not to say that they can find an instant solution to their problems. No, this is not to say. But at least they have been able to actualize a semblance of self-reliance, which is always better than the dependency mentality. So if you now cherish self-reliance, and the very person who subjected you to dependency mentality cannot sleep, that is understandable. That is the reality of life. Now France is underrating the colonists, their own colonies. I mean, his own colonies, and he is running away from historic facts. The Second World War, these colonies were made to fight for France, but for the help of the fight, the support, and then the bravery. That's the word I wanted to use. But for the bravery of these people, France would have today been a part of Germany. It would have been under Nazi Germany. It would have been under Nazi Germany long ago, and it would have been part of the German of today. You overlook that, and you think that they have not even thanked you for fighting jihadists, the so-called jihadists. This is to tell, I mean, this is an opportunity for us to know that the word jihadist, I mean, the word jihad can be likened to the word propaganda. You know, until propaganda, the word propaganda was used by a certain religion to kill Galileo. Propaganda never had any negative connotation. It was just a liberal word, just a very nice word, which simply meant persuasion. But when it was used to galvanize the support for the killing of Galileo, then it gained a negative connotation. The same way, the word jihad is harmless from the Arabic word. I mean, jihad simply means to strive for something positive. So if a student tries to write an exhibit, I mean, to pass an examination, it's jihad. What we are doing here is jihad, right? So the word jihad is not negative, but the way it has been used by sick minds hijacking the Islamic religion for their devilish agenda, it has assumed negative connotation. So from Islamic perspective, jihad as an Arabic word is not negative, but it has been misapplied by violent characters, those who are influenced by violence, by barbarism. These people have brought something bad or negative connotation to the word jihad. I want to make it clear so that we can continue. So the so-called jihadists, France is referring to the so-called jihadists. In the first place, my brother, who formed the jihadists? Who empowers them? Where did they get their ammunitions? Ammunitions that are even more expensive than the total economy of those countries. Where do they get the ammunitions, the ammunitions from, the arms? Where do they get those things from? How come that France, with its military might, and for some time has not been able to fight the jihadists? And what is the guarantee that when France fails to do so, the African army cannot do it? What is the guarantee? So look, it is the mentality of some people, right, that the Western hegemonies are the very people who are forming these so-called jihadist groups and who are empowering them to cause mayhem. If you think that you have the military might and that it should be given to you to fight for close to a decade or even more, you haven't been able to fight these jihadists, the so-called jihadists. Now you still want to remain there. So it is not because Macron is making noise, not because of jihadists. I'm telling you, he's ranting, not because of jihadists, but because of his economic interest, because of the French colonial economic interest, the French neo-colonial economic interest. That is it. So let Macron continue to rant, with all due respect to him, as the leader of a country. Africa will continue to be for Africans. And at all times, when the chains of colonialism re-emerge, the strategies of anti-neocolonialism will also re-emerge. Anytime at all, Macron thinks that he can utilize different strategies to propagate his neo-colonial agenda, he should be ready for those of us, the Pan-Africanist, the African loyalist. He should be ready for us, and he should be ready to encounter an equal measure of anti-neo-colonial struggle. That is it. So Macron, respect us and we'll respect you. When you rant, we'll rant back. When you come to steal our resources, we will prevent those resources. If you think that you cannot survive because of Africa, look for another territory to colonize. The chains of colonialism will continue to emerge. The strategies of anti-neo-colonialism will also continue to exist. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marzouk. Mr. Derek Ajay, let's hear from you, sir.
Well, I'll take it from where Dr. Marzouk, ended, and also to say that I associate myself with much of what he said, and especially that of the sovereign. I think that Macron's, maybe the French, I don't know, sovereign and suffering are two different things. So if he thinks that Africans suffering and their sovereignty can be interchanged, and therefore serve the interests of the neo-colonialists, not just the French, but in fact all the neo-colonialists. And there's a new emerging trend of neo-colonialism where our leaders, because of economic circumstances and sometimes greed, tend to pander to either the West or the East, or try to align. I believe that the original idea of non-alignment that was adopted by President Nkrumah should be followed through. The prospect of uniting Africa and ensuring that we harness the resources of Africa for the fullest development of Africa in all its form, and also the pursuit of the AFTA, that's the African Continental Free Trade Area, which Secretariat is in Ghana. The economy that it galvanizes is in the trillions per annum, and that can be upped. And I think that I gave a lot of credit to the speech given on the inauguration of President John Mahama, whose inauguration attracted the largest, international attendance. The one who got the loudest applause wasn't the French, but rather one of its colonies, Burkina Faso. And I think that it wasn't because of the uniform he was wearing, but what he stood for, which Dr. Masuk has articulated. The resistance to the notion that without France, its colonies cannot survive is perhaps at the key of it. But I believe also that whilst stating these, they should also be encouraged not to divorce themselves from the subcontinental union, that's the ECOWAS, and also be an integral part of the African Union, because as islands, the African continent, if the nation states that form it see themselves as islands, they cannot survive. I also want to reiterate the fact that the quote-unquote jihadist movement, which has been elucidated by Dr. Masuk, has not been an Islamic, terrorist, grouping, quote-unquote, has been made synonymous in terms of the word and its connotations, and that it's been rather hijacked. And some people belong to some faith, or predominantly some faith, because we know also of instances where nationals from all sorts and people of different religious backgrounds have joined jihadists in Syria and elsewhere to fight various causes. Some have been mercenaries, and there are some mercenaries currently even in Burkina Faso, beyond the French and so on, who have been attempting to, and I like the word attempting to fight, or pretending to fight. It's just, I see the fight against the jihadists synonymous to the Akufo-Addo type of fight against Galamsey. Corruption, we know the man is corruption, how can he fight himself? But, his people are the Galamseyers in the main. But, that attempt to pretend to fight is no longer something that Ghanaians cannot see through. And in much the same way, when the Wagner forces went in to support the Burkinabe government to fight the jihadists, it was for economic reasons. They took over mines, and some of them allegedly strayed, according to President Akufo-Addo when he went to report the Burkinabes to his bosses in Washington, claimed that they had strayed into Ghana and are attempting to steal Ghanaian mines. We know that the Cardinal mine, for example, is very close to the Burkinabe border in Upper East. It's the richest mine in the continent. And unfortunately, that was also a subject of state capture by Akufo-Addo's men. And I think that Ora and others should, move into that. I'm happy to hear that they intend to, engage on field visits as the oral team to many parts of the country to ascertain the veracity of the loot, including the gold and the iron mines and so on. I think that we must commend those. I'm trying to juxtapose it too. Now, these wars against the jihadists could have been easily won because of the kind of technology available to the West. Satellite technology allows you to see in real time, and if you look at the Ukraine-Russia war, it's been shifting. The terrain has been shifting based on who has superior technology in terms of drone warfare and surveillance. So, are they saying that the jihadists have superior, technology that are able to beat them such that they can't see in real time where the jihadists, and sadly, these are vast desert areas devoid of trees and forests and hiding places. So if they wanted to seek and destroy, they have hellfire missiles, they have all manner of
all the technology
weaponry to as it were emasculate these, but they want to sustain that war so that they can indefinitely be present in the countries to milk the cow that is called Africa, depending on which nipple is available, whether it's a colonial state that is still hinged to the economy, and the fact that they were using the CFA and all that, to some extent held those countries in one vein because of the stability that it brought, but it also then did not divorce them from that Dadaba life that is controlled from Paris. And so I think that when we look at these things, we must look at it within that context. Then the last bit that I would want to chip in, which you mentioned about the chieftaincy side, I think that prior to the colonial government arriving, we had our chiefs who were seeing the various territories, and then in the case of Ghana, we became a nation state under colonial rule, and then decided to become a republic upon independence. Republican status removed all possibility of having kingdoms. It's a superfluous thing to say that there's a kingdom in a part of Ghana today. There's no kingdom. Truth. There are chiefdoms, because the Constitution guarantees chieftaincy institution and chiefs and their role, and we all know how chiefs can be. And they are still able to control some of their resources, independent of what the state, does in terms of support. I remember, I think, very recently, the World Bank was in Ashanti, and they met with the Ashanti chief, the Otumfuo, and he's made some statements that for some are healthy, for some undermines the sovereignty of Ghana itself, where he says that he would want to deal directly with the World Bank, and also that projects in Ashanti should be controlled from Kumasi and not Accra. I mean, I don't know where that's going to take us. I mean, if the Yana says, for example, that he wants to control resources there, or the Cardinal Mine in Upper East, the chiefs say they want to control it from there. And in the same way, the chiefs in Accra cannot say that they want to control the lands in Accra. And I'm the first to fight that. In fact, I think that it is backward. And because some people know me as an advocate for our lands, and we'll come to the lands issue. When my grandfather gave the lands for the development of Ghana, which was a newly born country in those days, for the airport, for the university, and so on, it was for national purposes, for national development. It was being given to the Ghana country, and the Constitution, under Article 25, 5 and 6, allows that to, not only be done, but that it should be returned in the event that, the
government
purpose
has no use for
changes.
For it,
And it's the same for all parts of Ghana. And we expect that these things should happen. If you remember, the free education was supposed to have encountered a lot of setback. Same with the Agenda 111, when they couldn't find lands across the country. It wasn't just in Accra, but across the country, because chiefs are reluctant to give lands. In the same vein, I think also that the states should owe a responsibility to the people and stand true to the things that they promise, especially those that are guaranteed. And the judiciary also should refrain from being complicit in the looting and all those other ancillary things that goes with undermining the Constitution and the nation state and its sovereignty as a whole. Within that context, I would want to say that maybe we need to re-engineer not just Africa but Ghana within the context of having different strata of leadership, national leadership. And I think that it was experimented under President Jerry John Rawlings. I recall the same World Bank facility was gotten for Ghana as an it was supposed to be an alternative to governance that was proposed to the World Bank during the President Jerry John Rawlings era. That the chieftaincy institution in Ghana has matured to the point where it could be seen as an alternative, governance structure devoid of the kind of associated corruption that had been labeled against the governments of Africa. And the World Bank bought into it. It brought in its wake, it was a $5 million facility. Unfortunately, there was a change in government, and then the president who succeeded him, President John Kufuor, instead of giving it to the National House of Chiefs as a pilot for that, they decided that they were going to choose the best foot and put their best foot forward. And then he selected his chief, his hometown chief, the Ashanti chief, and therefore the Ashanti Kingdom, to give that facility to. He actually altered it from a loan to a grant using Ghana's sovereign backing. The entire Ghana's sovereign backing, which again was an error. If something has been given to the whole of Ghana as a taste,
give it to
why do you take our collective sovereignty to back
to one person?
And it's just like what President Akufo-Addo has been doing with his, village chief. His hometown chief. You understand? Everything must be the president's hometown chief. And I think that until we have a detribalized president in whom all our sovereignty will be, as the spirit of our constitution says, who will not be a land looter, who will not be a state capture, person, we would have a long way to go. And I want to entreat the current president and his government to, from the lessons learned from the predecessors, the bad examples, that they flee, not just depart, but flee from the temptation of these things, so that the sovereignty of this country, which is the black star of Africa, and which many nation states in Africa and around the world came to witness on the 7th of January will become that which was envisaged by the first president and emulate those shining, tenets that Ghana espoused within the continental framework, so that these colonies, quote unquote, independent as they were, are currently, will see the reason to still see Ghana as the big brother. And I think that once again, I want to, in solidarity with Dr. Masuk, condemn not just the French, but to entreat them, if they mean well, the West, if they mean well, and even the Russians, since they are already in our next door Burkina Faso, use the same technology they are using in Ukraine to identify those quote-unquote jihadists and just eliminate them if that is the last resort. Until then, they should just shut up and leave us alone.
Thank you very much.
About our resolve to champion African dignity and sovereignty should not be misconstrued as opposition to multilateralism and bilateralism. We are not opposed. We know that the world exists on the basis of interdependence. But all we are saying is that when you want to deal with us, come with clean hands. Come with respect, and we will also respect you. This is not to say that we are calling for an isolation of Africa. No. We still believe in multilateralism as a principle of global governance. We believe in bilateralism, but we believe that in pursuit of these two models of global governance, multilateralism and bilateralism, respect must be mutual.
Right.
Two, there is what we call in linguistics, what we call regionalism.
Yep.
You see, regionalism gives you the opportunity to contextualize a word and use it to suit your interest. Perhaps I'm commenting on the kingdoms. Perhaps the kingdom that we used, and he's right. I mean, Prince Derek is right. If we are to subject the usage of the kingdom according to where it originates from, and within the context of politics and governance, seriously, we shouldn't have any kingdoms in this country. But if we are to use it within the context of regionalism, borrowing, subjecting it to our own operational definition, then we can still have kingdoms. Let me tell you, for example,
federalism in Ghana?
For
a very good reason. Just hold that thought.
No, I want to
just hold the thought and just put it in context. Do you subscribe to federalism?
Let me finish.
As a concept in Ghana, because that was where the birth of the Republican status of Ghana on the 1st of July 1960 was birthed.
Derek, if you allow me to do proper analysis of the two words, I've done only one. Let me do the two words so that you can see.
Bonus.
You see, for example, the word chief that he used.
Yes.
Even where it originates.
Yes.
The way we apply it here.
It's wrong.
It's not
Exactly.
it's wrong.
Very wrong. Very wrong.
You understand that? Over there, they have chief directors, chief managers, chief whatever. Here, we have Savugu chief, La chief. Whatever chief. It means that we have contextualized that word and we are using it to suit our interest. So, once again, you are right. In the context of politics and governance, in the context of in the context of constitutionalism, there wouldn't be any kingdom in this country. But if we try to import that word and use it in our context, then of course we may understand. But your education is very important so that people should be able to, and that's why I want to add, people should be able to understand what kingdom means in relation to constitutionalism and what kingdom means in relation to our contextual usage.
What kingdom means within the context of the Japade document, which looks to the creation of a great Achim kingdom. No, but you see,
anyway,
the reason I ask the federalism thing is that you recall that during the strife for Ghana's independence, there was a part which is the antecedents of the NPP that wanted federalism and not a republican or a nation state. And
No, they rather wanted. I mean, those people. If my memory serves me, those people rather wanted unitary state.
No.
They wanted federalism. No, sorry. They wanted federalism.
Yes,
and they wanted federalism because of their natural resources.
Exactly.
You understand that?
And that is where the danger of our sovereignty lies within the context of the most recent statements to the World Bank. Yeah. Now, if we have
I'm not even talking about that.
I want to put things.
In the first place, look, I'm only trying as much as possible to explain semantics, usage, language use in context. You understand that? That is, I mean, a language use in context, and how words can be brought, how words can be borrowed, how words can be used within the context of the nation or within the context of certain disciplines. That's my concern.
But not within the context of history.
No,
I'm saying that not within the context of history and contemporary times, and the dangers that lie within what. You see, let's be real. I mean, you can do the academics, but let us look at the reality. No, seriously, there's a real and present danger if we are not careful. No, seriously. You see, we have a nation state.
Yes.
Yep.
We have a central government.
Very. I'm not.
We can decide as a people.
Very.
Now that we're having a situation where we'll have a constitutional review, we must be able to table these for discussion. And I think that once I agree with you that the context, the so and so on are necessary, Ghanaians, most of us are not literate to start with.
No, but we have to. That doesn't mean that we have to. We should deny them.
No, I'm saying
if they are not literate.
Let me land. I'm saying that. Within the context
I
shouldn't
disturb you, right?
I said taking a word.
Okay, no, I will not disturb you. So, provided you will not disturb me.
I will not disturb you, don't
okay.
I'm saying that. You see, if we take words in, you and I and others can debate what sovereignty means.
Yes.
Ghanaians understand sovereignty in their different languages. Okay, it doesn't have to say sovereignty. They know what it means. I'm saying that federalism, they also can understand if it's explained. And so they can take those decisions. They're sane and sound-minded enough to be able to discern these words. However, I think that we should not put a premium on the English words per se, but how people who should know better understand these words and trying to operationalize it within a context that is going to signal a danger to us. And that's why I was pointing to that World Bank meeting and where the direction is taking us to, and whether it's taking us back to federalism, and if so, let us have a discussion that we want a federal state where every chief would man their territories or together with whatever federal government they have and run their own administrations within their regional capitals. It's like Nigeria. Abuja is the capital. You understand? And then we have those discussions must be had, but it should not be foisted on us until then.
Yes. So, Derek, you and I are saying the same thing.
Yes.
First of all, you agree with me that words should be used within specific contexts. Yes. You agree with me.
Yes.
And you also agree with me that the very chief that you want us to be using, it's not applied in East. The way we apply it is different from the way it's applied.
I want to be used. Let me correct you.
Okay.
I took the Constitution of Ghana with the Supreme Law of Ghana, and it has chiefs and it doesn't have constitution.
You are opposed to correction, so you are not correcting.
No, I'm saying that. No, you were putting words in my mouth, and I will swallow them. I'm saying to you that I am looking at the Constitution of Ghana, where under the section that deals with chieftaincy, it talks about chiefs and not kings. And I'm saying also that we all understand.
But I think I've said that.
Status.
Right. I think I have mentioned that. I said constitutionally.
I will eat the words that you are putting in my mouth. I haven't said chief. Chief is in the Constitution. I'm referring to the Constitution.
And I'm saying that constitutionally you are right. But let's
deal with the BNI man.
You see,
I agree with you. I will agree with everything you say.
We spent so much time on this topic. Let's move forward.
But anyway, it's very educative.
Yes,
very educative. Let me commend him for trying to use tact and diplomacy to educate us on the dangers in relation to the use of certain words. And I try as much as possible to add to his tact and diplomacy by leveraging my little semantic knowledge.
Yeah. We are
Dr. Marvin has been taking us to the English class of gross-up status.
French.
I've been watching. Let's proceed. Nana Atubra-Kweku is the Director General of the National Intelligence Bureau, NIB. It appears that he is in hot waters. It is alleged that he has bought state lands for a paltry $11,000, lands that actually is valued at around $700,000.
Almost $1 million.
Yes,
almost
he
$1
bought
million
it for $11,000.
But his is better than the former Chief Justice Sofa Akufo.
bought
7,000 Ghana cedis, not
Yeah.
dollars. So 7,000 Ghana cedis.
Yeah,
Cantonment's land.
I've heard that.
You haven't just heard. It is in my Article 146 petition for the removal of her as Chief Justice, which President Akufo-Addo refused
you mean
to act on.
70,000 or
No,
something?
seven.
7,000.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7,000
7,000
cedis,
Ghana cedis, not dollars.
times. So it says, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is the member of parliament for the North Town constituency. He also doubles as the chairman of the Operation Recover or Loot Committee, that is the oral committee. So he came out, he says, so what exactly is the former Director General of the, is he former now? Has he been relieved?
No, he's still at post. I'm sure by this morning he himself should be advising
So what exactly is the former Director General of the National Intelligence Bureau, Nana Tobacco, denying? Is he denying that he bought our prime cantonment state land from President Akufo-Addo at a terribly insulting $11,000? Is he denying the fact that the real conservative market value for that piece of land is in excess of $700,000? That is some 10.5 million Ghana cedis. Is he denying that his government failed to comply with the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act 2016, Act 925, by not seeking parliamentary approval when they claimed to have carried out rezoning? Is he denying that he caused an assign to reach out on this matter? I honestly don't understand what his denials are about. Indeed, interesting days ahead. This is what I get. This is why I get even more convinced every passing day that my private members bill seeking to prohibit political appointees and politically exposed persons from buying state assets must be passed without further delay, and this shall surely happen in this 9th Parliament. I am excited that President Mahama gives us hope that the era of state capture is over. For God and country, Ghana first. He backed this with some documents, the land agreements. There I can see the directions, the words that the technical words they be using it, they be bordered to the north by so and so to the south diameter this and that and that. So they are all here, but I know President Keji has been itching to talk about this particular issue. He's an indigene, and of course I don't know whether to call him a land protect Accra lands advocate. That is
I would say protect national lands advocate.
I think that between the two of you, I choose his, even though, yes, because I am a nationalist. Yes. I am not a tribalist. And I am not just a native of La. I'm not only just a royal from La. My dad, whose picture you see here, is the La Jasiche, who just passed, and we don't have a new La Jasiche. He's a custodian of the La lands. My grandfather, the then La Manche, is the one who gave these lands to the states for national development. Repeat, national development, not La development or Accra development, but national development.
Or Ghan's development.
Yes.
So you are a nationalist.
Yes. And I believe in that concern. I still...
except that, I mean, not to cut you, not to interrupt, except that, when it comes to interest, proximity matters. And so it's not out of place. And
proximity, and even where the crime scene.
Exactly. Where the that's the crime scene. This is where you also live.
So now for context.
Yes.
To borrow from Doctor, before he takes us to the context journey. La. It's not just the small area that people see around La Palm area, no? La starts from Peduasi Lodge is on La land.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
La comes down the mountain from Peduasi Lodge to Adenta, to Medina. Medina is also La land, Legon, Airport, Cantonments, Laboni, and all those lands that are being talked about today, the prime lands that are being stolen, are La lands. In fact, the Achimota Forest decision gave 70% of the Achimota Forest land to the La. And that instructively was my late grandfather, the La Manche at the time, near Jordan, who was then contesting it. And 30% was given to Osu because La gave Osu a place abode on that. In fact, Osu generally, technically, is La Land. Teshin is La Land. Teshin people are La people, to start with. So let us not lose sight of the fact that we are talking about some small group of people or some small parcels of land somewhere. We have several villages. I'm sure recently you remember the Supreme Court gave a decision where about 70 or so villages of La were brought back to La. Custody of same, about 100, I mean like thousands and thousands of acres of land. So we're not talking about small chicken change. My difficulty, however, and I have a point of departure with the oral chairman, that's Honorable Sam Ujeto, a black one. I mean, we agree on almost everything except one or two things, and I think I would like to state that bias before I go ahead.
The value?
No, it's not about values. No. The value of the land, I mean, people stole or got our lands for even less. The former Chief Justice, not the 7,001. Right. The one before her, Georgina Wood. She exchanged her cheap Akwitema land for the International Students Hostel land, together with Atachia, his her brother-in-law, Katie Hammond, and several others. I mean, mostly lawyers, Freddie Blay and co. They were all there. Kunya here, the International Criminal Court judge. The former, administrator of the funds, what do you call it, the District Assembly Common Fund, Toshiado, who was then in Akufo-Addo's office, and others. Several lawyers, in fact, mostly lawyers and judges, are the people who did this to us. 2 Chief Justices named, and I put the list, the complete list of beneficiaries, in my Article 146 petition for the removal of Chief Justice, what do you call it, Sofa Akufu. President Akufo-Addo decided not to act on it until she retired on her 70th birthday. 2 years of no action. You understand? Because if he touched it, and the list of names included J.H. Mensah, I mean a lot of diseased people, high-profile people currently, Sam Jonah, everybody is there. In fact, the who's, they're all there.
They all bought the land.
Yes, Yasaf Mafu. I mean, I knew, Matthew Puku, like, I knew he couldn't act on it, all right? But the purpose of adding that list is to remove the doubt of the president not knowing into the situation where he knew and yet did nothing about it. That is the danger we had in a despot like President Akufo-Addo, who was willing to breach the constitution and commit high crime by not acting on the constitutional requirement. And you see the hypocrites who call themselves Occupy Ghana, the Esankumas and co, they were all aware. Samson Ladi Anyei, he was the first that I even showed my Article 146 petition to before, and asked how long does it take for a mandamus to be occasioned when, and he said, oh, 6 months later. They all were aware. These were the people who were talking about Article 146 petitions when it came to a certain EC chairperson, and ushered us into the era of removals. But of course, I mean, preceding that, President John Evans Mills had an Article 146 petition for the removal of Chief Justice before. He acted differently by stopping her, retrieving that property, that's the International Students Hostel, and using it still for the Foreign Affairs, which was the body that it was acquired under for the International Students Hostel, and now used as the head office complex after the burning of the previous head office under Akufo-Addo when he was Foreign Minister. So we had no qualms at all about the use of the land. Once it was done in the name and the interest of the state, the rezoning was done, etc., back to where it was, we're fine. And the sad thing, Georgina Wood said that she had a phone call. The transaction was done by phone call. If you remember, Gabi also told us that President Akufo-Addo, then as Foreign Minister, was also called, and he said that it was the word he used was immoral, and so he didn't take the land. Oh. But his deputy, who took over from him because he had become flag bearer, was part of the team that took the land. And then there are thousands of people, including embassies and diplomats, companies. Zoomlion is one. In fact, Zoomlion became a millionaire because of this. I mean, if you dash somebody money, technically the land is money. $1 million for 11,000. You dash the person what? In excess of 900,000 dollars. So if you have such parcels and you are getting $1 million, what do you think you've done? The governor of the Bank of Ghana and his deputies, they also took the same thing in the cantonment's place for the same amount. These are all going to come out. People in, and you see, let's not limit this into an MPP thing anyway, because it's not an MPP thing. There are several other persons who are beneficiaries of these. And I may be talking about this partially
but
because
who are not MPP, right? But who are not in MPP.
You see, one thing, these are individuals, and I don't believe that a particular political party sat down, conspired, and agreed that its members should go and do this.
Okay.
Nor did they go and do that for the purpose of bringing the money for campaign, which is actually possible. Yeah. Because we know Vice President Baumia, towards the end, shielded a certain professor who had taken the cantonment's lands and the prison service lands and so on, and it was attributed to campaign funding. We've heard all sorts of things. Cheddar. He and his brother too, they've taken much of the cantonment's lands. Look, we must blow everybody out of the water. Everybody must be blown out of the water, because look, this operation recover all loot. If we don't recover all of it, we must first retrieve the lands to make it impossible for anyone in the current administration or future administrations to think that they can do that. And that's how I'm saying that I have a point of departure with the oral chairman, in the sense that his private members bill that he's trying to bring up to sanitize the system, I think falls short in a little way. That limiting it to political appointees or their families, etc., will not cut it. It should be across board. Now, we must treat all our lands and our natural resources the same, because land is actually a natural resource of sorts.
Of course.
Now, if government can come and take somebody's land and says it's going to use it for something, it must use it for that thing. And that's why Article 25 and 6 are so clear that if the land use changes, the purpose changes, it must revert to the people who it was originally taken from. You can't come and take Mazouk's pen, and then when you finish writing on your paper, you give it to me.
No.
Are you getting it? You collected it to write with.
Yes.
You finished writing. Why do you give it to me? Why not Mazouk?
Yeah.
The Constitution is a very clear document. Some parts of it don't even require interpretation. So it's very disturbing that people who have studied law, risen through the ranks of the bar to the bench and to the Supreme Court, can interpret simple everyday language in a manner that's so bizarre, like what happened in the NIP 33, the third versus the Attorney General, which said that the purpose, that's the purpose for acquiring the land by the state, is synonymous to the interest. So if I took it for, let's say, animal husbandry, and the purpose has changed, it should not come to me. It can be given to Mazouk if Mazouk is going to use it for a hotel or whatever, private. But so far as public persons can go into the hotel, the thing is the same. What logic is that? So fast forward. Recently, judicial service are angry because their land has been taken and given to somebody to use for what do you call filling station. Now they are angry. The blood is flowing through their veins. In any case, that land doesn't belong to the judicial service. My grandfathers went to war. Our lands were not bought or gifted. It was fought for with blood. The stool went to war and got all these lands. So if I am defending that and I am an heir to that throne, I have no choice. But it is not just solely because of that, but I believe in the bigger national picture, that we have given these lands that we fought with our blood for to be given to Ghana, Ghanaians, all Ghanaians, not some particular Ghanaians. So just the same way you cannot go and give, let's say, a forest to somebody, like happened forever, and in somebody's will. And these kinds of things, transactions must necessarily revert to Parliament. Let us make sure that all such transactions must go to Parliament, where the people's representative, because my grandfather has given the thing for all Ghanaians. So all Ghanaians are represented where? In Parliament, not in the executive. Yeah, or the judiciary. But sometimes it's even sad because speakers of Parliament, since you use, etc., they don't dey inside. MPs, they are all on the list that I give to President Akufo-Addo. Look, it had not just the names of the persons, the lands that had been stolen or fraudulently allocated, the size of it, the dates on which the beneficiaries were given the lease, and so on, and the amounts involved, and so on. It was given to the Attorney General, it was given to the Special Prosecutor, and yet they have all failed to do anything. And so oral becomes very important in regathering these and bringing light, greater light to it. Today, some people are crying foul. Do you hear about see something, say something?
Yeah.
So if oral has seen something and Okudete is saying something, why should they be worried? If some people have seen something and they brought the documents to the center, and somehow or the other, the information has come out that you are lying, shouldn't he provide the evidence? The evidence has been provided. And you see, Mr. Alex Queno, I want to tell you, please, you guys resign. It is not just Atobra. Lands Commission, the entire gamut must go. This is why I have always been on Asensubachi and Abu Jinapo. People didn't understand the kind of rot Asensu gave the bungalows out for chicken change. And Sam Abu Jinapo came to tell the whole country that people will drive around on weekends. High profile people, the people we revere in society. His exact words on television. They drive around, Google search, and then come to his office and pressure him to give them these lands. He is the same person who also came to tell us that the president, Akufo-Addo, said nobody should be given any lands unless he expressly says so. The president, Akufo-Addo, expressly give the governor of the Bank of Ghana, give this BNI boss, give all these people the lands, at least those that were acquired under his tenure. And if not, it means that as the trustee of public acquired lands, these are non-effectual. Because the lands are vested in the president. That's the state lands. That's those acquired for the state institutions and so on. Are vested in the president. And through his lands minister and lands commission, these are supposed to be divested or whatever managed. But not to third parties, as has been done in this manner. And I want to also insist that, you see, I called for something, that all this and the state lands, not just in Accra, state lands across the country, the list and the status should be provided. It should be of public interest to know. And the bungalows too. Fortunately for us, we have been told, and some document has been handed over in the handing over notes of Upon Nkrumah. He told me he had done it, cabinet had approved it, and I hope it is correct. May not be exhaustive, but it's a starting point. Okay? Now, this must be made public. It should not be in the domain of the executive alone. It should be made public, because there may be some lands that are not listed in it. That's what people know, because I know plenty, and I can tell who and who are doing those developments. And those must be added to the repertoire of lands that belong to the state. Unless the state is saying it has no longer interest in it, in which case then it comes to the stool. And that one will not allow third parties to take it. If the state says the lands that my grandfather gave to the state, it is not state land though, then it is stool land. Or Abi?
Sure.
And so, I'm saying charity begins at home. When I was chasing some people in Accra, because Accra was the most, widely affected, and there was a bad law, it's may now be repealed, Act 2, which allows you to build to lintel level, and then the land on which you have stolen becomes yours. Common sense. The state itself, with all its military and police, cannot police our lands. How can the Accra chiefs police these lands? Day and night. Why? They have nothing to do.
It's a very silly law.
It is a stupid law. Act 2 of 1960. Protection of Purchasers Act. Very foolish. It stayed on status. I complained.
It was a tribute to land robbery.
Yes,
exactly.
Now, it was limited to Accra, some parts of some other, cities. And I said that if it's a good law, like some of the proponents are saying, then it should be extended to all of Ghana so everybody can enjoy. If it's a good law, why should Accra people alone benefit? Everybody should enjoy. Abi?
Yeah.
But now it's been repealed, thankfully. Now, there were other things, and that attraction of justice, that thing, the judicial review must start. It should not be emanating from me. I am not the only person in Accra or in Ghana who has interest in this land issue. Because at the heart of this is corruption. I'm telling you, plain and simple, it's on the table. It's corruption. And it is money laundering too. People have stolen monies from governments or are literally stealing state assets. Because the land is a state asset. And being given for free, because if you get land worth $1 million for 7,000 in the case of Sofa Akufu. And Sofa Akufu's case is very troubling. She eventually became Chief Justice, but then she was a Supreme Court judge who sat on a case that Kujeto, myself, and others had interest in. We, as then Gadangbe, initiated our action. Okujeto and Omani Bama came in and took it to fruition. They lost, however, narrowly in the court because the majority people said they agree with the fact that Jake should have it. One of the people who were in the minority was Justice Sofa Akufu. She dissented. I don't want to read her dissenting opinion because for me it is not grounded in good conscience. And I'll say why. Whilst she thought Jake shouldn't have that rich bungalow, she and Jake together with others had been giving cantonments land for that cheap 7,000 I'm talking about. So how in one vein do you disagree even with yourself and still retain the land? Does it make sense? This was the basis for my Article 146 petition for the removal of Chief Justice Sofaku, because she cannot sit on cases to do with lands or cantonment lands or laboring lands or any other land in this country. And justice will serve the people. That was the basis for her removal. But then I decided to add the list, comprehensive list, plenty people. And oral today, when I finish this program, I will come to your office and give you copies of these to further pursue. We must get to the bottom of this thing. And those who have these should surrender these lands. They should surrender the lands. I mean, like, I think the gentleman was alleged to have tried, and this one is an allegation. That one, he was alleged to have surrendered the land. And he said he hasn't surrendered the land. But as to the fact that his name is on the document, that was a fact. As to the fact that the national chairman, Alex Queno, signed the documents, it's fact. It's before you.
Why is one an allegation, the other a fact?
No, the allegation, that one you cannot prove it because it's his word against his, that you surrendered the land through a third party.
Yeah.
And he said he hasn't surrendered the land. That's an allegation. But the documents are not allegations. They are physical. Okay, fine. Let's assume it's an allegation. So let us go. Let's finish it so far from here. You and I from here will drive there. Alex Queno, I have his number from the. I'll give it to your producers. News today. News. Your TV news. Call Alex Queno and let him deny that these documents are not documents that he signed, or that these documents have no value. If they are of value, he should go and answer or resign before he's sacked.
They are all over the place.
No, you understand what I'm saying? Look, let us start taking ourselves seriously. This is a country that's not broke. Ghana, the money is here. The money has been stolen. The assets have been stolen and liquidated into cash. They are building on them so that because yes, for they themselves, their descendants, etc. What about mine? What about those who gave the land for Ghana, for Ghana's development? We should lose our land. So are you the fool, the stupid idiot who was given a land at 7,000 or 11,000, which is worth 1 million? Why we don't know how to chop cash? If today I had this $1 million and I was sharing it in the studio or around the road, isn't it better than giving it to one foolish person?
Will you share with me?
Oh, I mean, I'm a generous person. I share the little I have with everybody. Everybody who knows me knows me. But you see, charity begins at home. That's why we began there. But I believe that the same principle should be upheld in every jurisdiction of this country where lands acquired by the state for particular purposes should be used for those stated purposes as is described in the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the country, and not the Supreme Court of Ghana sending the Constitution away. What nonsense is that?
Calm down.
Honestly, look, you see, it's about time. No, it's about time we told people the basic truth. You don't wear gowns and wear wigs only just to tend because some of you want to benefit and a lot of them have benefited. In fact, on that list, there were Supreme Court justices on the list. Then I get look, you see, let's get very serious.
Take water.
Let's get very serious in this country. This is no joke. People shed blood so they can acquire something. They did not say let us keep it. They said let us all enjoy it. So Ghana gets use for all Ghanaians. How does it become the president of somebody because he was elected president to take that land and give it to his friends and so on? Check the background of the BNI boss. Dankwa Institute. Is Dankwa Institute the breeding grounds for the governors of this country? Gabi's Dankwa Institute, which is the what call it? They call it something blah 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 of the MPP orientation, but whatever it is. So you take them, supplant them in the BNI, national security, etc. And is it this? No. So who is supposed to investigate the lands in this country? Assuming we took a document to the BNI or national security to look at, and these guys were still at the helm of it. You think anything good would come out of it? Why has nothing come out of all these years that some of us have been championing these causes? Because the people there are complicit. Then they give some people in the security, the media, CSOs. Look, that list that I give, I deliberately get it to the president, the council of state, then the special prosecutor, the attorney general, and so on. Because then La Manche, Nico Bitatichu, wrote a petition to President Kufuor about the military taking over our lands clandestinely and the lands of the land people being stolen. I personally took it to President Akufo-Addo's office, December 29th, when he assumed office. The last day in December, I remember very well, the last working day. And when he was given that, he had the impudence of ignoring our chief for years. He did not deal with the petition. And that petition had in it a clause that said that this was being copied to the Attorney General as proof of service and an indication of our interest to proceed to court. Which court will we go to? Sobakubu's court or Judge Nawood's court? Whose court? Which justices will sit on it? The same people who are taking our lands for free? And what justice are we going to get out of that? It should not be for me to go for a judicial review. The people of Ghana, it's your land. I leave this to you and in good conscience as a sane Ghanaian, one of sound mind, not Occupy Ghana. Nobody from Occupy Ghana should tell us about these things. We have had enough of it. They knew, yet they decided to ignore. And some of them did prayer on the back of these things. Let any other sane Ghanaian call for a judicial review. I may be too passionate about this. It is my land. Let somebody else do this for and on behalf of Ghanaians in the interest of Ghana. Let us put Ghana first. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. That was a very passionate one from Mr. Prince Derek Ajay. But I'll do a few messages before I come to Dr. Marzouk. Seidu John Paul says he's doing the watching. Thank you, Seidu. He says, Atandaga Pius. My name is Atandaga Pius. Watching you live from Upper East Region, Chiana Paga. I've been to Chiana Paga. Very far place from Bogatanga, even from Bogatanga, and the routes are terrible. I hope that, it's my fervent hope that this government will turn their attention especially to the routes that lead to Chianapaga. Very, very bad. President Mahama has demonstrated a firm leadership and a commitment to Ghana's progress through a strong action such as eliminating ministries, reducing ministries from 30 to 23, seeking accountability for election-related deaths, hatred and sale of state lands, addressing challenges in the free senior high school program, and working to avert a power crisis. These steps, alongside efforts to eliminate pilgrimage, to reduce pilgrimage fees and promote transparency, reflects his dedication. Okay, reflects his dedication. That's what you meant. He reflects his dedication to reset the country. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah once said that actions without thought is empty. Thought without action is blind. I am Pius Atandaga from Chianapaka. Thank you, Pius. Rekud says, greetings, bless, and your panelists. I like Dr. Marzouk's red suit this morning. He reminds me of both Tupac Amaru Shakur and Peter Mensah in Hollywood. Peter Mensah actually is a Ghanaian, has been in Hollywood for a good number of years, done some movies. He played Onomeus or Doctori in, I think, in Spartacus or so.
The next time I go to England, to London, I'll bring one for him.
You bring one for him.
But you didn't tell him that your inspiration came from somewhere. He's not sharing the credit though.
Sly the Great says the NDC is more truthful than the MPP. John and Jane led governments. Don't forget the grassroots, the branch executives, and the radio, TV, social media communicators. Okay, Sly Kwabenya, Greater Accra. Thank you. William Mande Jikuni says, good morning, bless. All the lands should be returned to the government. As for our judiciary, they need to be cleared. Bernard K. Yeboah says every Ghanaian is a potential thief and corrupt and must be monitored. Hey, we beg you. This one here says that good morning, Ghana shall not die. All right, President Mahama shall surprise the world positively again. Okay, we hope so. Ken Williams says, good morning, Pan-Africa TV. Kudos to your panelists, especially Dr. Marzouk of the Linguistics Department, where I have my umbilical cord as a postgraduate of English as a second language. My regards to Professor Jekum, Dr. Agor, and Professor Nana Abamfo, the current VC, who made a very great impact on my life. But they must do more to market the gospel of ESL, Business English and Aviation English, etc., which are in high demand in US, UK, AU, France, Middle East, Europe, and French, West Africa. The English Center is a center of attraction to non-English countries who bring their technocrats there to enhance their human resources capacity through language learning. Language teaching is a gold mine we are yet to exploit. Ken William, right? This is
Well taken.
This is obiter dictum. I want your message in relation to the topics we are discussing as well. Right. Alhaji Hamza from Big Farm says, good morning, my brother. In my humble opinion, the restructuring and cutting the size of the ministry from 30 to 23 is the best way to go. At least this will go a long way to cut down waste and save monies for development in the country. I'm also particularly happy to see that President Mahama has ordered for the food items imported into the country for drought situation in the north should not be given to our children in various schools. But I will also call on the president to take a serious look at what is happening in our markets in the country. The burning of our market is becoming one too many, and the earlier something is done about it, the better. Very, very sad situation, especially this morning. We woke up to hear that the Headman market also is in conflagration. Yes. Yes, one region, one burning. The Headman market is in flames. This Alhaji Hamza from Pig Farm, he sends his regards to you as well.
Sure. Thank you.
This one, he says, please tell PDA that I'm watching him and his ancestors are strongly behind him, and posterity will be the best judge. You are an asset to the people of La. Ubuntu sent this one. Thank you, Ubuntu, for your message. Greetings to you all and the panelists. I pray that President Mahama will be able to reverse all this rot and bring justice to all. From Mabruka in Tamale. Thank you for your message. Now, on this note, I come to Dr. Marzouk. Let me hear from you, sir.
Thank you. The last one is Mabruka, right?
Yes.
Mabruka.
Mabruka.
Okay. Yes. Mabruka. Tomasim. Nah. All right. So, I am scandalized. See, I can understand the emotions of my good friend. It's very well understandable.
I mean, before can we quickly work from the police? Sometimes there's that interruption. Can we please work on the talk back? I'll be very happy. Thank you very much, Dr. Marzouk. Can you proceed?
All right. You see, I agree largely with him, and I understand his emotions, even though certain words, but he has done very well.
You are a linguistic doctor. Please look at your dictionary. You know the meaning of stupid, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm saying yes. I agree with you, but
so you agree with me. So proceed. Don't go beyond that.
The words.
Why are you now trying to?
The words are strong, but they are understandable.
Because it's
very. I mean,
when you're hunting witches, what do you use?
You see, one thing about him is that you see, when he was speaking, I kept quiet. I was even enjoying it.
Okay.
But you should enjoy yours too. Let's just enjoy yours too.
It's okay.
Anyway, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of the difference between politics and academics.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, this was a crime from our sisters. A crime from our sisters.
Crime against the state.
Yes,
all I'm saying is that look, you have used those words. They are strong, yet they are contextually justifiable.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. You wouldn't
wait for it to
you see, because it is a crime against the state, a crime against all of us. I wouldn't want to speak to a BNI boss. I know it is now known as NIB.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in the new name. I want everybody to understand, because when you say NIB, people may think National Investment Bank. National Investment Bank. I'm not referring to National Investment Bank. I'm referring to BNI, Bureau of National Investigation, whose name has been changed through the process of semantic gymnastics. So I'm not interested in that. You see, the BNI boss, Uncle, I respect you so much, and I respect your expertise, your professionalism. One of the evils confronting this nation is land thievery.
Yeah,
and that's why we are dealing with land gas. We have problems of land gas. You know, the land gas mentality arises out of loss of hope.
Act 2.
Loss of hope. I'm telling you, in the very institutions that are supposed to protect our lands. I know it is a criminal enterprise, but it is arising from loss of hope. If the institutions responsible for the protection of lands had been functional, we might not have had the issue of land gas. So you are the BNI boss, the chief intelligence officer for the state, and you know the problem of land gas. You know, you have not been able to use your expertise to fight the menace of land gas. You have rather submitted yourself to an alleged criminal conduct, an alleged criminal dealing with lands, because to buy this one, I mean, the amount quoted is unfortunate. He shouldn't have done it at all, and he should have rather helped the state to fight any crime in relation to land. I think it is not the right thing to do, and this is an opportunity for President Mahama to probe and to actualize the oral. In fact, if the oral is not done, I won't be happy. And let me tackle it from the point of witch hunting. You agree with me? From anthropology to sociology, everybody understands that in all cultures, witches are not welcome. In all cultures, witches are not welcome. So if you allow the witches to exist, you must allow people to hunt them. There's nothing witch hunting about the oral. The oral is nationalistic, even though it has been propounded by a political party. It stands to save this nation and to serve Ghanaians. It's highly nationalistic. No one should discredit it with the argument of witch hunting. And if we allow the witches, if you think that you can enjoy the comfort of the existence of the witches, you must equally be ready for the burden of the discomfort of witch hunting. I strongly believe that all those who have illegally acquired our lands must be pursued to either return the lands or face the consequences, or even both.
Or end.
Or both.
No, there's no or.
Yes.
And face the consequences.
You understand that? So I do not want to talk too much on this topic. I think my brother has articulated it.
Then let me give some remedy
nicely,
going forward.
Yes, nicely. And I just want to appeal to
the thieves.
No, not the thieves. I mean, they don't understand the language of appeal. I'm appealing to the president, President John Mahama, to ensure that the oral.
Getting used to that title
oral,
now.
Yes, the oral functions well in the supreme interest of the state.
Actually, their tenure will be ending soon. The first set of appointees are being vetted today, and the Attorney General is likely to be vetted either today or latest by tomorrow. And I expect that with the absolute majority in Parliament, the MPP, even if they decide to contest, would be a done deal. And we'll have an Attorney General who then, per the oral mandate, would have to hand over whatever documents that they have. So I want to entreat the general public to quickly assemble their documents like I'm doing, and quickly hand over their documents to the oral team so that they can add their recommendations that they'll be making to the Attorney General's office for onward processing or transmission to other state agencies. And that's where the difficulty is. If state agencies are supposed to be given some of these to work on, the one that lands on the BNI Director's office table, what should he make of it if his own documents appear? So his tenure in office is untenable. He has to leave. And I think that same goes to those who signed that at the Lands Commission. They must all leave right now. I believe also that all land transactions must be done via the banking system. When you have your car and you want to either license it or renew the, the documentation, when you go to the license office, that's the DBL office, do you pay money to any official? No. Pay to the bank. So all land transactions must start with payments to a designated bank, and it must end with the final payment to a designated bank. before you get an indenture, you don't pay to anybody. Once we are able to make it cashless, seamless, the electronic footprint of every transaction will be known. The paper trail will take us to who the original or actual owners are, and where it is deemed to be proceeds of corruption, galamsey, and others, as is currently the case. Because we know King James for what she does, galamsey. She together with the governor of the Bank of Ghana have bought lands for the same amounts, 10,000, 7,000, 11,000 at cantonments, the civil aviation land that was in contest, like was being litigated by the workers, the people of La, and the government of the time, Akufo-Addo's government. For which reason, Abu Napo Samuel said he was going to do an investigation. No report, yet the lands have been given out. On what basis were they given out? So the banking system is very key. So I have digital records. Now the other thing is that all our lands, fortunately, the lands have all been digitized. There's a map of La and of Ghana. Parts of Ghana have been digitized in terms of having a plane fly over and digitize the map, so in real coordinate terms we can tell where every piece of land is. It's not been done for the whole country, but it's been done for at least the entire La area. I mean, Greater Accra, particularly the La area, it's been digitized. So there's no excuse why any La land going forward. And I want to entreat the president and the new administration to move this process forward quickly, so that once that digitization process is done with a key ingredient of the new land law, that's Act 1036, which states that every stool must have its stool lands registered under its stool lands secretariat, which is mandatory. If you don't have a stool lands secretariat, that doesn't have right now, and it hasn't registered its lands, it means that the transactions that are being done are illegal to start with, and so they can be voided regardless of the fraud part. Then we can now use the digitized maps to see where every transaction is falling, the quantum of monies, and through that government can get enough revenue if the actual prices are being paid. The secretariat also would generate a lot of money and a lot of employment for the young people, because the land secretariats are supposed to have an army of people who go around serving, documents to the people who are on the lands, so that the ground rents and all those kind of payments can be done. Two is that with the digitized system, the IT systems will be synced with that of the Lands Commission. So nobody can sit at Lands Commission and be doing the kind of nonsense that's going on and selling the lands without the knowledge of the stool land secretariat, because they have to give concurrent approval. Now they can conspire, yes, but then also at least the bank, which is situated at the stool land secretariat, will have the records anyway, so that any investigation can have access to the paper trail or electronic trail. And then the issue or phenomenon of unexplained wealth, where somebody pops up out of the woodwork and is buying a land worth about $1 million and building a mansion on top of it, and there are cement trucks, in queue, just pumping cement, iron rods hanging off listens, like an international contract. Where did the person get the money from? This can take you to the galamsey straight away. This can take you to the corrupt people straight away. And I entreat Oral. But we must all applaud Oral. We must applaud the president, and everybody must support it in its dying embers, because I believe very strongly that this week definitely we'll have an attorney general, and definitely this week they are mandated to come to an end.
You say what thing we should also consider is the so-called supremacy of politicians. I mean, politics. If John Mahama, President John Mahama, is able to fight this thievery, of course, politics will be given a different dimension. Yes. It will now be seen as an opportunity to serve, not opportunity to grab, to steal. No. And I strongly believe, because people do it with impunity. They do it with impunity. I mean, they tell you, when our party comes to power, we can do this or we can do that. And of course, when the party comes to power, they do. Let me remind him of something else about Hajj. Because Hajj is just about the operations.
He's acted on it already. The president has acted on the Hajj thing already. Because Dada has been appointed. There's a team overseeing. President Mahama is working on.
Let me tell you something. Look, in the last week of next month, we'll start the fasting, Ramadan. So we have Ramadan, Sha'ban, Zulqa'dah, Zulhijjah. So immediately we start
Which one will be the holiday? Which one is going to be?
Both of them.
No. The president is promising you a holiday. I'm saying that. Which would you like?
Oh, he's listening to me. I'll consult my boss. The Chief will decide.
I understand the fares are going to come down. The Collins Dowda team is supposed to work on.
And let me tell you something. Now there is a Hajj conference
Yes.
And then, because Hajj is a bilateral thing, yes, it's government to government.
Yes.
So there should be a team now.
It's been
that
done.
should be dealing with.
Alex Dada is heading the team, and they've left
let
to
me
go
tell
and
you
negotiate
something.
on your behalf
Let
for
me
the
tell you
first to come
something.
down.
I'm speaking from experience. Let me tell you something.
I'm telling you about what has happened over the weekend.
And I'm telling you,
I'm sure he was part of it.
Were you there?
I am aware of it.
You should be praising the president for doing the job for you.
Oh, but I've always praised him
For doing the job
Yes.
for you.
And
Now, when he goes
I've
to-
praised him. I've praised him and I've warned him.
Yes. Hey,
With
one-
all, of course, we can warn the president in
Charlie,
humility.
You are mad, oh.
We can warn the
No,
president in
you can-
humility.
You can caution him.
We can warn him.
I don't remember what.
So what's the warning?
I don't
My
remember
warning is that he should not allow his government to be hijacked by thieves.
Agreed.
That's my warning. And
Yes.
this is a humble warning, nationalistic warning, proper warning, appropriate warning, contextually justifiable warning.
Yeah.
You understand that?
Yes.
Yes, I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking
I
about.
agree.
Is that people go to Hajj board with the mentality of
Yes,
impunity,
yes,
and they
yes,
think
you're
that
right.
it is not audited. They can, they can do all kinds of crime. It's a complete crime scene. People go there, misbehave, and they are protected by political,
institution,
by the institution. Sometimes governments are afraid. They think that when they act,
Religious
the Muslim
backlash.
community,
Religious backlash.
No, Islam has no room for corruption. Islam has no room for thievery. And if you are going to use state powers, state resources to fight corruption against Islam and Muslims, then of course you are on the right path.
I agree.
So these are things that we should bring to the fore so that the president will be guided, and those people whom he has selected should also act, because they should see themselves as different politicians in this regime. They've seen the rejection of impunity, of supremacy, of complacency, of thievery. I don't think they should be victims. So these are the realities, and very soon, if they don't start work now, they will be late.
Is it true that the Hajj village has been sold?
I don't know. I've also heard that, but I don't know that.
I'm just getting a message that
Yes. I don't know
what you're saying, that because it's airport, it's my
Yes,
land as
yes.
well. So
I don't know the truth of it. I've also heard it, but I don't know the truth of it.
please find out.
Yes, I'll find out.
And send it to oral. Send it to oral.
Yes. So
Our
these are all
time is
areas.
about briefly. Our time is about briefly. If we can comment.
So all I'm saying is that I think this is not part of my time. He'll comment, I'll also comment. Let me finish this one. President Mahama, we love you. You have our support. We want you to do the right thing. Let those who have looted this country understand that a new era has dawned. An era of right over might.
Accountability.
An era of peace over violence. An era of justice over injustice.
Right.
An era of excellence over mediocrity. Thank you.
Well, I'd want to congratulate the president for reducing or rationalizing the ministries from 30 to 23.
Yes,
and also trying to keep his promise of limiting the appointed ministers list to 62. I think he's a man who's walking his talk and working very hard every day. Every single day, a relevant, and I'm saying relevant, very relevant communication or letter comes from his office to actualize what his vision is. And I believe that his promise to Ghanaians that in the first 120 days he would achieve A, B, and C. I hope that he would be able to achieve all and even exceed that target. I know he's a man of modesty, and so whereas he may be able to do 10 things, he may say, I'll do 8. So by the time 120 days is up, he may have done a little bit more. And I think the speed with which he started should be either maintained or quickened. And I know it will be, because his appointees, once they are in office, will also reduce the inertia of having persons who are not his in office or working against his interests or attempting to sabotage, like we're seeing the market fires, we're seeing the attempt not to feed school children, we're seeing the attempt not to have a national budget passed in the first quarter, now all have been put behind us, because before they exited, because of a debt they needed to pay, an external debt, they've still brought the budget. Though late, it was brought and passed, so he can spend. But the feeding of the students, which was going to necessitate the closure of the schools, has also been averted, because President Mahama has instructed for some emergency food supplies to be sent to the schools. there is more mess wrought sector by sector. He's appointed as an energy minister, the finance, and the attorney general to oversee the immediate resolution of the Doso situation that was looming virtually, because there was no stockpiles of oil or fuel for the plants and so on. With that, also, I want to say that he has, in this short time, had a meeting with the stakeholders, and I think that the consultative nature of President John Dramani Mahama must be applauded, because he, even though he has the power, the enormous power of state to do A, B, and C, resorts a lot to consultation. The sector players were brought together under the leadership of the Chief of Staff and the designated Minister for Energy to ensure that there was a roadmap towards ensuring that this is not only averted, but that this does not recur, and that there are enough buffers going forward. I want to see that sector by sector as the days go by, and I think that we can only wish the president and his government well. But as Ghanaians, we are the major stakeholders. So even though the bulk of Ghanaians voted for him as an endorsement of the departure from the past, which is negative, we have entered a new dawn, a new day with a new president and government. We must continue to support him. Let us not be quick to, join the forces who were quiet in the past 8 years, who have suddenly found their voices and are trying to, bring the country to start criticizing the president already, or to kind of put him under some undue pressure. Let us give him the space, the 120-day space at the very least, to roll out all that is good for us. Ghana can
Finally.
Finally.
Your Excellency the President, beware of regime sycophants.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very true. That is also true.
It's okay.
Very, very true.
Regime sycophants, right?
Yes. There'll be praise singers who would imagine.
Chrissy Pratt gave it to somebody like that live on set somewhere last week. I already mentioned the person's name.
I want the video.
Right, thank you so much, Dr. Razuk. Thank you, Prince Eric J, and thank you to the technical team. Those of you who make sure that
we'll be going to cantonments from here. You are going with us.
we are going
to go and look at the lands, particularly that one.
We'll go. We are interested.
I have to be at the International Conference Center this morning.
It's near. So we can use it.
Well, right. And thank you to our cherished viewers. I wish you the very best for this week. Putting all your efforts, and I hope that you reap the dividends that you deserve. Do have a pleasant week.
Please, guy. What I want to fire for you, then you come.
I was still on every floor.
You need to understand me.